In this video, we're going to discuss the settings that you can adjust in Ambient Occlusion to change the way your renderings look. The first thing to note is you can either work with your renderings in Render Viewport Mode, which will render your image within the SketchUp viewport itself, or within the Render Separate window, which will render your image in a separate window. You can access all of these settings both within the SketchUp viewport by right-clicking or by using the options at the top of the render window, depending on the mode that you select. If you're using Viewport Render Mode, your view will automatically update as you orbit around your model. You may have to click the Render in Separate Window button to update your rendering in your separate window if you change your view within your SketchUp model. Let's start by clicking the Render in Viewport button. This will immediately generate a rendering of your model within your SketchUp viewport. To turn off Render Viewport Mode, simply click the Render Viewport button in the Ambient Occlusion menu or tap the spacebar key. For those of you with slower computers, it may make sense for you to use the Render in Separate Window option so that your PC is not trying to constantly update as you move around in your model. If you right-click in your model, you'll find a series of options available for adjusting your renderings. The first is the Render Mode option. This allows you to toggle between a black and white rendering and a rendering that includes colors and textures from your model. The Quality option allows you to adjust the quality of the rendered image. The higher the quality you select in your model, the less blurriness or noise will be in your final render. However, the higher the quality you select, the longer your rendering will take. The Custom option allows you to run the render as long as you'd like, then save the image when you reach your desired image quality. This will run the rendering indefinitely in your model. As you can see at the bottom of the page, information about your rendering will appear as your model renders, including things like your current resolution, the length of time spent rendering your model, and the percentage complete of your rendering. The Environment option allows you to customize the illumination of your scenes. Ambient Occlusion supports the import of HDRI environment maps, allowing you to customize your environments as you see fit. To import your own HDR files, place them in the folder in the location below. Ambient Occlusion comes with one HDRI by default, and you can download additional environments by clicking on the Environment, Download Environments option. You can illuminate your scenes using HDR files or by using a solid color by right-clicking, going to Environment, Use Solid Color. You can adjust the color by using the Solid Color option under Environment. You can adjust the brightness of your files by adjusting the Gain slider. With all of these sliders, you can either click and drag, or you can select and type to set different values in your sliders. If you're using HDR files, you can rotate them using the Environment Rotation option. In addition to environments, Ambient Occlusion also supports the usage of backgrounds. You can use solid colors for backgrounds, or you can import background images for use as well. Ambient Occlusion comes with several built-in sky backgrounds. You can also download more backgrounds by going to Background, Download Backgrounds. Or you can import your own backgrounds by placing them in the folder below. Gain adjusts the brightness of your model. Occlusion distance allows you to adjust the distance the algorithm uses to determine if an object is casting shadows or not. Lower values will result in brighter images. This can be especially useful when working with interior scenes with lots of shadows. Lens radius simulates depth of field in scenes. This means that objects further from the camera focal point will appear blurred. This basically simulates camera focus in your rendering. Shadows allows you to adjust the shadow settings in your rendering. The actual location of the shadows can be adjusted by adjusting the date and time settings in SketchUp in the tray. You can disable the casting of shadows by unchecking the box for Enabled under Shadows. Contrast will adjust the contrast level between your shadows and the rest of your model. The higher the contrast, the darker your shadows will be. The Shadow Softness option will adjust how hard the edges of your shadows are. A setting of 0 will result in very hard shadow edges. Higher settings will result in more rounded shadows. Opacity adjusts if you can see through your model or not. A setting of 1 means that your model is completely opaque. Lower settings allow you to see through your model. To save a copy of your image, simply right-click and click Save Image. Your image will be saved at the resolution of your SketchUp viewport. If you want to save at a higher resolution than your SketchUp viewport, use the Render in a Separate Window option, which allows you to change to a custom resolution. You can use the presets in this list, or you can go to Custom and enter your own resolution in order to save a larger image. In the Separate Window mode, you can toggle the different color channels, and you can also toggle the alpha channel if you'd like to export an image with a clear background. You can save your image by clicking the Save Image button, then naming your file and setting a file export type. That's where we're going to wrap up this ambient occlusion tutorial. In the next video, we'll talk about how to create animations using the EX version of ambient occlusion. If you're looking for more help, make sure to visit the ambient occlusion forums at the link in the notes below. Thank you for watching this ambient occlusion tutorial.